Poking through a little bit, but hey, we back. Y'all saw the, it was calm abs next session, nothing crazy. Honestly, I was gonna go in the sauna afterwards, but yeah, I just felt compelled. You know what? I'm gonna slide back here in the PM, right, and run up some sauna and mobility. That sounds beautiful, honestly. So we're gonna end the day off with that probably, but yeah, told y'all I was gonna be up in the frequency on the Health 2.0 video, so we're here. If you guys have seen the previous Health 2.0 videos, I was speaking about how I have this sort of like shoulder mobility, scapular issues, whatnot. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I spoke about how it was something like, oh, upper cross syndrome, and like obviously it's scapular winging for sure, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's like I don't want to put the label on my issues and whatnot. I just want to keep it simple in terms of, okay, this is the reality of the situation, and okay, how can I fix it? I don't want to get so caught up in like, oh, this is this, and I have to, do these exercises and whatnot that I'm, obviously I've been doing research and whatnot online. And, it just reminds me that in cases like this where you have, these bodily issues, it's exactly the same thing with my, what happened with my gut issues, where I felt like I was doing all this research and whatnot, but, now I'm reminding myself again, like, okay, just trust your intuition, right? You know what works, what doesn't. It's that simple, right? It's that simple. Realization I came to this morning relative to these issues was that I remembered back when I was in my powerlifting arc. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started lifting, bro, I'll throw up a video of like, me lifting some pretty decent weight. I'm not gonna lie. For my weight, I think I was like, like 120 or 130, and I was deadlifting like, dude, it was honestly pretty impressive for like only lifting for like a year. Like, that powerlifting arc was something special, I'm not gonna lie. But as I came to realize, it also had its downsides, because I realized that, if you guys see the video, I would always deadlift with a mixed grip. So when you deadlift mixed grip, it's like one hand's underhand and one hand's overhand, and that was like just the staple in terms of deadlifting for me back then, where I didn't have straps and whatever, and I didn't really like deadlifting overhand, so I would always do underhand. But I realized that I was looking back at previous pictures from before I started deadlifting and then after. I'll probably throw up like, a before and after, because I'm telling you, I have pics from all the way back then. And I was going through those this morning, and I realized like, oh shoot, right, the pics were, this was, before the powerlifting era, my back was like, my back was actually symmetrical. It wasn't imbalanced. But then after I started deadlifting, after a few months of doing that with the mixed grip, I noticed that my right trap actually started to get really overdeveloped, and my right lat and rear delt started to, sag behind my left. And it made me realize, like, bro, it was literally from just deadlifting. That was the root cause of these, scapular winging, upper cross, whatever. Like, obviously, I don't want to, label it like that, but just my scapular issues, right? My shoulder mobility, all these imbalances, it was from deadlifting. That's the root cause. Like, that was the root cause. Where it all started off with me identifying that these imbalances were caused by the mobility issues and whatnot. But now I realize that all of that stemmed from all the way back then. Literally, this has been going on for years, and I have yet to address it. And that's, it's the beautiful thing about targeting your imbalances and your weak points, because then you realize, like, dude, there's these things that I've been neglecting for so long, and it's like, no wonder I've plateaued. No wonder I'm not seeing the progress I want to see. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, in seeing that, I was like, damn, right? Like, it hit me. I was like, fuck, bro, deadlifting, did me wrong, right? Of course, the PRs were nice, right? The PRs were nice, but the shoulder problems and, the trap imbalance, all of that, not it. So essentially, now what I'm doing is, I'm done, because what I was also doing, right, that I realized was not in alignment with my own standard, was that I was externalizing my power too much. I was trying to go online, and of course it's good to do your research, right, and understand, like, okay, why is this happening, what's at play. But I noticed I was trying to figure out, like, what exercises and stretches to do, because obviously that was something I'm really targeting, is like, okay, I gotta strengthen the weak muscles and stretch out and loosen up the tight muscles, relative to these scapular issues. But I realized that, let me chill on externalizing my power, and let me just trust my own intuition. Because truthfully, in remembering, this mixed grip sort of thing, that was from intuition. And so it reinforced to me that I have to approach this from just the perspective of, okay, what do I believe, what do I know is going to move the needle, instead of trying to search for it online. So, that's just a little, extra rant on the spiritual aspect in 2.0, baby. Internalizing over externalizing. If you're new here, that is the name of the game, right? We never want to outsource our own intuition and ideas when we can, develop conviction within ourselves just by trying to solve a problem ourselves. And of course, this doesn't mean, oh, I don't need help, but, in instances like this where it's like, you really have that urge to be like, you know what, I think this is the way, commit to that 100%. But that's a little side rant. But yeah, so what I realized was that obviously my left side is relatively, it's cooling, right? There's no really imbalances, or obviously relative to the right. But in terms of, the function of my shoulder mobility on this side, it's, it's great. It's beautiful. It's why my chest is developed on this side. It's why my back is actually developed on this side. And so I realized that I think I need to start prioritizing underhand. Because like I said, I was doing a pronated on this side and underhand on this side when I was deadlifting. That's why my trap is so, overdeveloped, because, pronation is really just your traps, right? It's like why, you do like those rows, and it's for the traps, you're doing pronated grips. And I realized that, okay, maybe I should start just doing more underhand movements so I can start, disengaging my traps when I'm doing certain movements, and start really hammering in on my lats, my rear delts and whatnot. And of course, strengthening the lower traps, the serratus, all those other muscle groups that play a role. But it stood out to me that, okay, if this side is good and I was just doing underhand, then, the simplest thing, right? Simplicity in solution, simplicity reigns supreme. If you haven't seen that video, 100% recommend checking it out. But now I'm thinking, okay, maybe if I start doing underhand more on this side, I'll actually allow it to catch up and just become more accustomed to engaging my lats and allowing my shoulder blades to actually retract in the ways I want to. So yeah, that's gonna be something we're gonna experiment with moving forward. But the main thing was just, you know, realizing this morning, like, damn, bro, the deadlifts, man, the mixed grip deadlifts was the root cause after all. And I was over here trying to, you know, dude, I was over here trying to do all this research and be like, oh, shoot, maybe it was this, and maybe it was my posture and whatnot. But it really was that. It's literally that simple. I showed the before and afters in terms of, you know, my back becoming imbalanced, you know, within deadlifting and all that. So hey, I'm actually hyped now, because this is what intuition is all about. It creates that discernment, bro. You're able to discern what actually matters, right? Instead of just, you know, of course it's good to have that wide array of knowledge at my disposal, but now it's like I'm really narrowing in, you know, being more like a sniper in terms of this. And now I think the needle is really going to be moved, right? This is going to be a huge needle mover in terms of the scapular issues. But yeah, just wanted to fill y'all in on that. You know, just looking back at the past sometimes can, you know, prove extremely helpful, you know, at least for me within scapular issues. But of course, on a macro level, you know, that's really what the past is for. You just look towards the past and you learn from the mistakes, and then you ground yourself within the current moment, and you think, okay, how can I take what was then and leverage it within the now? And that's exactly what I'm doing within, you know, looking back at what essentially caused these issues, and now I'm actively going to apply it within the present moment and begin hammering down on these issues so I can begin actually growing in the ways I want to, man. Finally, man. But hey, if y'all got value, like, comment, always appreciate feedback, of course. But yeah, I'm gonna go get in this, you know, we're gonna get a calm little haul. I'm just gonna get blueberries that I ran out yesterday. Absolute staple, right? Absolute staple within the diet. Berries of all sorts. All right, but I'm a blueberry type of guy, I won't lie. But hey, see y'all.